Hi, I'm Craig Taylor, and as always, a huge thank you for finding the time in your day to join me here on my YouTube channel, the Bushcraft Padawan. Regular viewers and subscribers will know that one of my development areas for 2017 and beyond is to improve my tree and plant identification. And one route that I'm taking to achieve that is by taking part in a year-long tree and plant ID Masterclass run by Kirtley from Frontier Bushcraft. I'm a few months into that now, and I've just finished module 3 or level 3, so as is the norm, I'm going to post some thoughts and feedback and general observations about how I found this particular level. So I think it's fair to say, and I was actually quite overt about this in the Facebook group that the Masterclass has attached to it. It's a closed group. I feel like I lost my mojo a little bit at the start of this particular module, and I've been thinking about why that could be, and I don't have a definitive answer. I think it's maybe a combination of things. Firstly, this module started around about the time that my children went on half-term holidays, and you might think, well, what's the connection there? Well, for those of you that have watched some of my previous videos in this series, in this playlist, you'll know that I use the opportunity after I've dropped my kids off at school to take a walk around the local park and the local wooded area to look at tree and plants and buds and those types of things. So being intrinsically closer to the course content was part of my normal daily routine until, of course, they went on leave and I didn't have the opportunity to weave it into my routine. So that could be a factor. I think another factor, and if I'm being honest with myself, probably the greater factor, is a self-imposed distancing from this particular module. Let me explain what I mean by that. The previous modules have focused very heavily on tree identification. This module focuses more on plant identification. Now, in my head, I see trees as being used for various bushcraft reasons and purposes, few of which, and I could be very wrong in this statement, but few of which are about eating the trees or parts of the trees, ingesting them. Whereas with plants, in my head, I see their greater use being around eating them and using them as fuel and as supplements for your calorific intake or your nutrient intake. Now, if you're not aware, and I was vaguely before this masterclass started, even here in the UK, there are plenty of plenty of plants that will screw you up in various degrees if you ingest them, if you eat them, ranging from being uncomfortable to potentially being dead, which I guess is not uncomfortable as such, but you get the idea. There's a lot of plants that can do you a lot of harm. There's a great saying relating to foraging for food: if in doubt, leave it out. In other words, if you're not sure, don't touch the damn thing. I'm not sure I'll ever be at a stage where I am 100% confident that that plant there is safe and that plant there is unsafe. I can eat that, but I shouldn't eat that. I don't know if I'll ever get there, and maybe it's that seed of self-doubt in my head that is distancing me somewhat, or has distanced me, I think is more accurate, from this particular module when it started. I just didn't have the confidence to commit the time to something that I was never really sure I'd be comfortable in applying. So I've distanced myself a little bit from this module at the beginning, but that's changed, and let me tell you why that's changed. About halfway through the module or thereabouts, Paul makes a great statement. It says something wonderful in one of the videos, and it's I'm paraphrasing here, but it's essentially this: don't go looking for the exotic things. Don't go looking for the weird and wonderful edible plants in and around your area. Don't ignore the things that are literally under your footstep. Don't ignore the things that could literally be on your doorstep. Things like nettles, things like dandelions and cleavers, or sticky willies, that plant that you might remember from your childhood where it kind of sticks to you. I'll bring a shot up on screen now that may help to jog your memory if you're not familiar with it. Don't overlook those sorts of plants, because even I, even I can identify a dandelion and a stinging nettle and a cleaver or a sticky willy. I can identify those. So that's given me a little bit more confidence to think, okay, maybe, you know, there are some plants out there that may be difficult to identify or easy to confuse with others that can screw you up, but there are also some plants that I walk or run past every single day, actually, that I could experiment with and that I could start to gain some confidence in. So started the module a little reserved and a little standoffish, and I felt like I'd lost my mojo, but just that realization that there's some very, very common, easily identifiable, everyday plants that I can tap into, that's given me a lot more confidence. So yeah, so my mojo recovered probably about halfway through the module. So in terms of the bigger picture then, I felt that it's been quite another productive month. I've been able to positively identify, either as a result of using my Collins identification book, but less so as time's progressing, which I guess that's the key. I've been able to positively identify, I've got a list here, field maple, sycamore, primrose, cleavers, stinging nettles, which sounds like an obvious statement, but there are some very similar plants to stinging nettles that are not stinging nettles. So it's been quite good to be able to go out and to be able to identify and more quickly identify trees and plants and rely less on my Collins book of British tree and plant, British tree identification, and actually rely more on what I've recalled up here from the course itself. So that's been very positive. One thing that sticks in my mind from this month is I did an overnighter, Bushcraft overnighter with my son, and I'll link to it. I'll link to the video up here somewhere. And just as we were walking out back to the car, there was this wonderful carpet of very pale yellow flowers, and I instantly knew that I recognised them. Couldn't identify them, but I recognised them. So I sat down, dug out my book, looked for it, went through all the identification and recognition features, and was able to positively identify it as a primrose. So I thought to myself, brilliant. I couldn't identify it off the top of my head, but I knew that I knew it. What I overlooked, now I didn't pick any, what I overlooked was that the very first plant that I've been able to completely identify with and relate to was unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, a protected species here in the UK. So I'm glad I didn't pick it, and it was just quite ironic. The first thing I identified, I couldn't really do a lot with, other than it gave me a good boost of confidence, which of course is worth its weight in gold. So Paul gives us a piece of homework at the end of every module, and this module is no different. What he wants us to do is to, when we're on our travels, or try and engineer it into our travels, to go somewhere where there is a stream, and to be able to look at just how vivid and broad and wide-ranging the plant life is going to be around that stream area, for obvious reasons, the stream carrying nutrients and fuel for the particular plant life. I've got a bit of a challenge with that, and that's despite living around quite a lot of woodland, there's not many streams, and I suspect that's down to that the ground around here in my area is particularly chalky, so I imagine that any streams have to have a hell of a lot of rainfall to become streams, and then probably drain very, very quickly. So not had much luck finding any streams with actually any water flowing in them, just very old dried up stream beds. Having said that, I am doing something next week in which I will be in wooded areas, and I suspect those woods that I will be in will have streams in them. Don't want to say too much. If you keep your eyes peeled for next week's video, you'll see what I'll be up to. I'm actually going to need to record it in advance and release it whilst I'm actually out there in the woods. So I don't want to reveal too many spoilers on that. So in a nutshell, Module 3 is now technically complete, but of course I'm going to go back and review it, and Module 2's content, always trying to you know, not just to finish something, but to go back and to review it. It's over. Not a great start from a personal perspective. There was that reservation there, but I think I've gained some confidence and aren't quite as afraid of just picking any random thing off the ground, any random plant, should I say, and just stuffing it into my mouth and eating it. I think it's a healthy caution to have had. It's potentially a life-saving caution to exhibit, but perhaps I was overdoing it a little bit, and perhaps, as Paul said in one of his videos, don't ignore the common everyday childhood type plants that we all recall. They can be of value as well. As always, thanks for watching the video. If there's something in here that's made you think, if it's something that's made you reflect upon what you do or don't do, if you think that's a good thing, please do give it a thumbs up. If you feel that there's somebody in your network that would value watching this video, please share it with them. And if you're not already a subscriber, please do click that subscribe button and become a subscriber. Thanks ever so much for watching. You'll see me in another video very shortly, but I'll see you probably in about a month's time or so to pick up on this thread and this playlist around tree and plant identification. Thanks for watching.